Well, we are halfway through the NFL season, but there's an elephant in the room that we have to address. Aaron Rodgers. So, days before the game against Kansas City, it looked like it was going to be a clash of titans, Aaron versus Patrick Mahomes, but Rodgers receives a positive COVID test. But I read that he's going to be out. I go, wait a minute. I thought the usual protocol for those who were vaccinated was that he had to get two more negative tests to be able to play. And here's the thing about that. He wasn't vaccinated. He never was. A lot of us thought we were. I thought he was. But he came. But in that interview, when he asked about it, he said, "Yeah, I'm immunized. Immunized. That's the magic word. That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. So he wasn't. So he hadn't been vaccinated all season. But here's my thing about that, though. My thing about that is they should have asked him further about what he meant by immunized. They didn't ask him that. So they took it as he was vaccinated. And because of that, they said, well, he lied about it. We didn't really lie. But he didn't really tell the truth either. And then he goes on this on McAfee's podcast. And AJ Hawk, his ex-Super Bowl teammate, was on it. And he mentioned that he was considering he considered taking Pfizer Moderna, but he was allergic to a chemical in it. And when he was about to go do the J&J, Johnson & Johnson, it got pulled. I remember that story when it got pulled. It got pulled because it was causing a lot of problems. So he didn't really take it. Now, I could understand that, being allergic to whatever. But if he had left it at that, I'd have been fine. But I think a lot of people would have. Problem is, Rodgers decided to start talking, and he ended up putting both feet in his mouth. He went on he said a whole bunch of statements that made either little to no sense or weren't true at all. He mentioned Joe Rogan, which is a name you shouldn't mention because he's a crackpot. He hasn't been relevant since news radio. Think about how long ago that was. He said Rogan has said every anti-vax, anti-COVID thing in the book. He even had it, and still insists that ivermectin helped him. Of course, ivermectin has not been recommended against COVID. It's a damn horse tranquilizer. I think that's what I read it was. But and then he mentioned Democrat. What did he say? Democrats were against the vaccine when Trump pushed it, which is completely false. And then he said the doctor told him a vaccine would eliminate COVID altogether. That's also not true. No doctor ever said that. None. No doctor ever said that. I've said many times. People immediately thought, the ordinary people immediately thought when they heard vaccine, it's gonna cure COVID. No. And then when people who were vaxxed, who were still getting it, that's when they scapegoated the doctors. What are you lying to us? They did not say that that vaccine would eradicate COVID. They did not say that. But the doctors getting scapegoated. It bothers me. This whole thing bothers me. I'm for this vaccine, and people need to just man up and take it. That's all I gotta say. But as for my thoughts about Rodgers, he was in the wrong quite a bit, but not as much as people say. And another thing I don't like is he's the only one that's been scapegoated in all of this because the team knew and the league knew, but the team got fined, and so did Rodgers and Lazard, by the way. So yeah, and what I'm took for is Rodgers is in the middle with this thing. He's not anti-vax, but he's not pro-vax either. He's right in the middle. He really gave no side. And then we see him. I think it was yesterday. He kind of. I took it as an apology. He admitted, well, I may have said some things that were misleading. Yeah, he owned up to it, which is no surprise. He owns up to a lot of things. So he knows he screwed up, and he's man enough to admit it. Now, It's now important for him to get back on the field and play. And speaking of the Packers, Jordan Love took the field, started for the first time. He only threw for 190, threw for one touchdown throw, but threw an interception. I thought he did all right given the circumstances. This was still a winnable game. Jordan Love played pretty well. The defense was on fire. The special teams was the problem. 2 missed field goals, one of them blocked, and a whole bunch of missed special teams miscues. If those things didn't happen, we still win this game anyway. But yeah, and the Chiefs played ugly too. It was an ugly game all around, but the Chiefs ended up winning that game 13-7. The big shocker for week 9, Jacksonville beat the Bills. Can you believe it? The Jacksonville Jaguars, who are just a walking joke this year, beat a team that's kind of favored to emerge from the AFC this year, with Kansas City going down. Wow. So yeah, that happened, and with New England's win, the Patriots could win the division. Ooh, a lot of good stories here. There's one team I'm glad lost big, and that's the Raiders. The Raiders are an absolute trash team. I mean, first it's Gruden, then Henry Ruggs. This idiot with, as to quote a WWE Hall of Famer, with an extreme malignant case of moron, driving under the influence at 156 miles per hour, caused an accident that killed a young woman and her dog, and that guy's girlfriend was in the car with him. She was injured and banged up because of this. He's an idiot. And then, days later, there's another moron on the team. Some fool, David Arnett, some fool on video, on social media, with an assault rifle, making death threats. What's with this team? I mean, you talk about a trash organization. At least the Jaguars are a comedic train wreck. The Raiders are hideous. They are hideous, hideous, hideous. It's all coming out now. They don't deserve to win shit this year. I was so happy that the Giants beat them, because it proves that karma exists. It proves that karma exists, and I honestly hope they lose out for the rest of the year. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, what's their record? They're 5-3? Yeah, they're 5-3 now. They play the Chiefs next week. That's on Sunday Night Football. They kind of play hard against Kansas City. Plus, Kansas City's kind of iffy. But yeah, of course, speaking of Sunday Night Football, the Rams. I guess they didn't get the memo that Derrick Henry is out for the season, because Tennessee pretty much played like Derrick Henry was still playing. Tennessee mollywopped them. It was all, and Matt Stafford had clearly his worst game of the season. Threw 2 interceptions, he threw an interception, and then right after, he gets the ball back again, he throws a pick 6. It was just a bad day in the office for Matt Stafford. So, Titans got that W, their first game this season without Derrick Henry. And, yeah, it was crazy. The Falcons blew a double-digit lead, which isn't a surprise, but what was a surprise is they still end up coming back to win the game. Last-second field goal. Baltimore had a last-second field goal of their own against Minnesota, so they're staying in first place. But right behind them is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I gotta say this, Pittsburgh, what are you doing barely surviving against a team like the Chicago Bears? They're a funny/tragic train wreck. I have to say funny because I'm a Packers fan, and one of our favorite pastimes is laughing at the Bears. But this game should not have been close. Should not have been close. But Pittsburgh did it, and they are right behind Baltimore. The races are getting very intensifying, especially in that AFC East. I'm still stuck on that. New England could end up winning the division. Emphasis on could. Remember, Bills and Pats haven't played each other yet, so that's gonna be very interesting. They could be very neck and neck by the time they get that first meeting over with. But yeah, and of course I talk about OBJ. You got to talk about Odell. Odell is a free agent. He cleared waivers. Cleveland decided to get rid of him. And he said it himself. He wants to be a Packer. Oh, please let this happen. Please let this happen. Please let this happen. If we get Odell Beckham Jr., we're going to just run away with this. They might as well just hand the Lombardi Trophy to us right then and there. We already have the best quarterback in the league, in the modern day Joe Montana at quarterback. And we have a pretty good receiving core. And we're going to have, if we have Odell with it, please let this happen. Please let this happen. I don't ask for much. I don't get it. Please, let this happen. I'm just saying. Odell, plus Rodgers, plus Adams, plus that defense that's actually doing things right, equals Lombardi. Plain and simple. Get him, Packers. He wants to wear green and gold. He said it. Get him. Do whatever the hell it takes. Just get him. That's all I ask. So anyway, like I said, we are halfway through this season. It's an 18-week season now with a 17-game schedule. 8 weeks, 9 weeks down, 9 to go. And let's just give a detailed look at the playoff standings. Excuse me. The AFC at the moment, it's Tennessee at the number 1 spot. That's excuse me. At 7-2. Ravens are 6-2. Chargers are 5-3. Buffalo's down to number 4 at 5-3. Damn allergies. I'm sorry. At the moment, the Raiders, Steelers, and the Patriots. Yes, the Patriots. They will be the wild cards. Raiders and Steelers are 5-3. Patriots are 5-4. Kansas City's also 5-4, but I think New England has some tiebreakers. The Ohio teams are 5-4. So is Denver. Denver mollywopped Dallas in their first game without Von Miller. Then there's the NFC. Arizona's back to number 1 after beating the Niners without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. The Packers lost, knocked us down to number 2. We didn't move that far down. Tampa, who was off last week, they're 3. Dallas is 4. They're the same record, but that week 1 win puts them at number 3. Rams are the 5 seed at 7-2. And New Orleans and Atlanta would also be wild cards at 5-3 and 4 respectively. Carolina, despite their mishaps, they're knocking on the door. Minnesota's right behind it, 3-5. So is Seattle and San Francisco. So, but again, it's not quite time yet to really discuss playoff races and playoff scenarios. But these are the standings so far. So that's the story so far. The first half over. The second half of the season starts tomorrow. Week 10 starts with Thursday Night Football in Miami. The Ravens will visit the Miami Dolphins. And as far as other action, I mentioned the Patriots. They're at home against Cleveland in a battle of 5 and 4 teams. Steelers play Detroit. If the Steelers lose that game, there's gonna be panic in Pittsburgh. I'm serious, especially since they're at home. Tampa Bay's back after the bye, facing Washington, a wild card rematch. Buffalo's facing the Jets. They should trounce the Jets, but if last week taught us anything, it's that we don't know. As I said, Raiders and Chiefs this Sunday football. Packers are at home against Seattle. Russell Wilson's supposed to be back for that game. Rodgers could be back. I hope he is. They say he'll be eligible to return to the team on Saturday, as Saturday will mark 10 days. So that's the day before the game, but that's pretty close. So fingers crossed that he actually starts at home against Seattle. Like I said, Raiders, Chiefs, Sunday game. Monday Night Football is Rams and the Niners. That's going to be good. So that's my recap of Week 9 of the NFL season. If you like this video, click the like button. If you subscribe and you want more, my story on Vocal about Week 9 will be in the description below. So check that out. And I'll be back next week to recap week number 10 of the season. So stay tuned.